Hey there! Thanks so much for joining us today. We wish you could show you the venue in person, but we think you'll be blown away by this virtual tour until you can see it then. Remember, please write down any questions you may have and we'll be so happy to answer them for you after you watch this. First thing we want to point out is the parking lot. It's hidden behind the trees and it has 125 spots for cars. Because people carpool to weddings, usually 2 to 3 people per car, we can easily fit 200 to 300 people in our lot, with lots of overflow parking. Here at Peach Creek Ranch, we are equipped for all different sizes of guest lists. However, our sweet spot is anywhere between 75 and 300 guests. After your guests arrive, they'll cross this bridge over our creek, where there is always a flowing stream for your guests to walk over as they approach the main barn. Now, we usually keep these barn doors closed at first, as most bride and grooms prefer that guests wait until after the ceremony to see the reception hall. However, Texas weather can be very unpredictable at times, and if it's one of those unbearably hot, cold, or rainy days, we may make that game time decision with you to let your guests in early and keep them comfortable. We do also have this small wood topper and barrels that you may use anywhere, but most couples choose to have a sign-in or guest book located here. On most wedding days, we will simply direct them around to the west side of the building over here to our patio, pavilion, and ceremony site. Over here, we have plenty of wall space for gift tables, appetizer tables, and drink stations. We also have one of our 2 bars that you are welcome to utilize. Both of our bars can serve inside and outside, so that your bartenders never have to relocate. Before the ceremony, your guests might be seen here drinking lemonade, water, and iced tea. You are also welcome to fill your trough with ice and drinks if you'd prefer those items to be self-served. After the ceremony, you may start serving alcoholic drinks as your guests enjoy cocktail hour under the pavilion, and then once the reception starts, we can simply shut the outside bar and open the inside. This is so much more cost-effective and time-effective than having several bar setups throughout the day. Lastly, there's a door to the restrooms out here, which means, weather permitting, we can keep your guests out of the reception hall prior to the ceremony, but they will still have access to everything they need. Over here, we have our pavilion. It's of course used for your guests to gather before the ceremony and cocktail hour afterwards, but its most important use is definitely as the ceremony rain plan. Again, should it be a day that is hot, cold, or rainy, and you don't want your guests to be out in the open, this makes a fantastic Plan B option. We even have an additional arbor that matches the pavilion that we bring to the top of the stairs, and you get to enjoy a ceremony with the same view of the lake, but without having to subject your guests to the elements. We also have a white drop-down shade in this area that protects your guests from any unforeseen sideways rain or wind when dropped down. Because so many days here at Peach Creek Ranch are bright and sunny, you can usually expect to get married down here at our dedicated ceremony site. It may be hard to tell that there is plenty of slope from back to front to help your guests see over the person in front of them, and there are speakers hidden in the planter beds, allowing your guests to hear the ceremony clearly. This means that your DJ can use our sound system to play music and mic up the officiant without setting up big, ugly speakers that could be in the way of all of your pictures. Here, we have our hand-built arbor that you are welcome to decorate with flowers, drapings, greenery, or anything else to personalize it to your style. There's even a trail that walks all the way around the pond, crosses a 50-foot bridge over the cove, and comes back out of the woods on the other side. With this trail and others around the property that go through the woods, there's no shortage of beautiful photo locations for you and your wedding party on the day of. Also, as it gets dark, the over 1 mile of rope and cafe lights turn the property into a beautiful and safe location to party the night away. Lastly, all of our PCR couples are welcome to use the property leading up to the big day for bridal and engagement photo sessions. Just make an appointment and you can use the grounds at no extra charge. Now, the way we normally do ceremonies here is the bridesmaids line up on one side, the groomsmen on the other. They walk, meet in the middle, and head down the aisle together. The bride usually comes through the big barn doors alone or accompanied by a loved one down the aisle. We will of course pull the barn doors open for you during your big entrance and you can walk down in style. I did want to mention how serene and quiet that our property is. I know in this video that will be kind of hard to convey. In case you're not familiar with the area, I have to mention that it only feels like we're in the middle of nowhere. We're only about 10 minutes from hotels for your guests, which means they get that middle of nowhere feel without driving 45 minutes down some dark and windy dirt road. Uber and Lyft even pick up out here. Next up are the restrooms. The important thing to note about them is that there are 5 fixtures in each, so nobody will be waiting in line. Now, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the great room. It's 5,000 square feet, has cedar posts and beams, fir timber trusses, and of course has 3 gorgeous crystal chandeliers that cannot be missed. It's really a blank canvas to set up however you would like. As far as design goes, we purposefully created it to be very neutral so that every kind of style will work in here. It's a luxury barn that can work with almost every style or color palette. I'm certain your style will look great here too, and any color choice will pop against our dark wooden walls. Obviously, we think our venue is very pretty, but honestly, so are a lot of venues. What also sets us apart is the way we've structured our packages. To better explain it, on one end of the spectrum, there are all-inclusive venues. They're a great option for someone who wants a one-stop shop. It's nice because you don't really have to make any decisions, but unfortunately, you don't really get to make any either. They kind of put you in a box, and most of their weddings are pretty identical. On the other end of the spectrum, there are venues that say, here are the keys, clean up when you're done. Now, these venues are nice because you get the freedom to do what you want, but it's also all on your plate, including the stress and the cleaning. We decided to come up with a system that really combines the best of both worlds. We're not an all-inclusive, but we're more or less full service. With the exception of alcohol, you can choose whatever vendors you like. This is great because that means you get to prioritize your spending and choose where to spend your money. You'll be able to design your wedding the way you want it. We will be here to do all the other in-between things that you don't want to do or even think to do to make the wedding go smoothly. First, we include day of coordination. Every wedding needs a coordinator. You get to do the fun part that makes your event unique and select all of your other vendors throughout your engagement. But once you have all of your vendors figured out, it's still not an event. Someone has to put it all together so that everyone is on the same page and that the details and timing are figured out. That is why we include coordination in all of our packages. There's a company here in town called All Things Planned. They are the best planning and coordination company by far. And they have a 1,700 day of coordination service that we have already purchased and we give to each one of our bride and grooms, included in every wedding we host. They'll be contacting you about 6 weeks out from your wedding. They'll help you make a timeline, a floor plan, they'll walk the venue with you and answer all of your questions. They'll give you a long checklist to go over to make sure you don't miss a thing and that you have all of your ducks in a row before the big day. They then create a detailed timeline with all of that information. Then, on your wedding day, they will be there every step of the way. They will be ensuring that your guests are comfortable and that all of your vendors are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Next, we include all of the tables and chairs and the setup and takedown of those tables and chairs. This will be in the floor plan that you and All Things Planned decide upon. Leave the heavy lifting to us. Lastly, and best of all, weddings are amazing, but they can be long and stressful days. The last thing you or your family are going to want to do at the end of the night is flip on the lights and start cleaning. Most venues require you to be out that night, but we didn't like the idea of you spending the last hours of your wedding night packing up and sweeping. We clean off all of the tables, take all of the trash out, bag up all of your rental linens, put the chairs on the tables, and do the deep cleaning. Most importantly, we gather up all of your personal things, your gifts, your decor, your centerpieces, and we organize them all in one spot in the back under the balcony. This means that you can spend the rest of your night with friends and family. You can go to sleep on site and just send someone around 9 a.m. or so to start gathering up your things and any leftovers in the fridge. As long as y'all are headed off-site by 10 a.m., you're good. So, as you can see, we've really structured our packages to give you more time with friends and family because we feel like that's what it really should be about. Back to the building, we will direct your attention to our balcony. It's used for several things: overflow seating, sometimes the wedding party eats up there, but most commonly it's where we place the DJ. It gets him up and out of the way. In addition to playing music, he's the MC for the night. He's making announcements, he's making eye contact with the coordinator for entrance cues, and it's good to have him there for a good vantage point. Underneath the balcony is our serving area for buffet meals. We close these curtains every time the caterer is setting up or breaking down, so your guests don't see all of that. But the way we normally set it up is 2 rectangular tables on one side and 2 rectangular tables on the other, which means a self-serve buffet gives you 4 full lines. It helps get food on people's plates quickly, which leaves more time for the fun stuff. It's one of our biggest pet peeves at weddings when it takes over an hour to get your food. It really throws off the timing of the whole night, which is why the coordinator will work with your caterer to make sure they can accommodate multiple lines of guests at one time. What also helps speed things up is that the serving area is attached to our prep kitchen, which means they can quickly refill the trays of food as they empty. We also have a 500-pound ice machine and an 8x8-foot walk-in fridge. This means your vendors aren't fighting over fridge space, and there's more than enough space for food, drinks, flowers, cakes, and leftovers. Coming back to the main great room, we would love to mention something near and dear to our hearts. We have a state-of-the-art concert-quality sound system. Our previous family business was an audio-video installation company, and we had the opportunity to make one of our final projects this amazing sound system at the venue. This is something that would be helpful to your event for so many reasons. Number 1, DJs love to work here because they don't have to lug their huge amps and speakers around, and some of them will even give you a small discount at PCR. Next, and most importantly, a DJ's normal setup is a tower of speakers in one place, which means some poor table is getting their ears blown out all night, and the tables in the back have no idea what's going on because they can't hear anything clearly. It's not a balanced experience, and it's not great for anyone. Our system is totally different. We have dozens of small speakers instead of a few large ones, which means each one is not that loud independently, but they still create plenty of sound together. Everyone has a speaker nearby, which means the announcements and toasts are easy to understand. It plays inside, outside, and in the restrooms, all at the same time so nobody misses a thing. It's a really good way to keep everyone involved throughout the night. We also have 2 giant subwoofers in the wall, so there are plenty of bass for the late night dance music. You might notice when you're a guest at a wedding that the sound may be blaring or sound horrible, but your guests won't be thinking about anything here besides the fact that they need to be on the dance floor. We'll also be here to sound check the DJ's equipment when he arrives, so that by the time your wedding rolls around, it will always sound perfect. On the video side, we have a 15-foot projector screen that rolls down from below that window all the way down to the beam above the door. If you would like to put together a slideshow of pictures to scroll through during dinner, you can bring them on a flash drive or laptop to give your guests something to look at while they eat. Or, if you make a monogram with a logo of your initials, white letters, black background, we can project it up there on the wood all night long so that you have your own personalized backdrop throughout the night. The last thing that we include that we haven't mentioned yet, in addition to the coordination team, which is usually a coordinator and a couple of interns, a manager at Peach Creek Ranch will always be here for every single wedding. The manager handles all of those venue-related things that arise during a wedding day. We handle lights, fans, AC, sound systems. All the moments that you don't need to think about, we will be there for. If a breaker trips, a toilet clogs, if a glass breaks, we're here to fix all of it because it has been the same manager, same coordination team, and same venue for over 300 weddings. It's a well-oiled machine here at Peach Creek Ranch. Speaking of our manager, he is also in charge of our fully automated lighting and shade system installed in our venue so that your event flows even smoother. We have custom lights that create the perfect ambiance for your wedding night, as well as shades that lower for those summer weddings where the sun stays up long before you want to start the dance party. Sometimes it's a simple head nod from across the room. The coordinator will tell the manager, "I need some mood lighting for the first dance," and you'll have mood lighting. When it's time for open dance floor, we dim the lights even more and our installed DJ lights can be turned on. You may do your cake cutting after it's dark, and your photographer might want some better lighting for your cake cutting photos. Well, we can just spotlight your cake area. We'll be doing these kinds of things and a lot more than that, honestly, things you might not even notice, just to make sure that your guests are comfortable, your photos turn out nice, and you're actually getting to enjoy the day entirely stress-free. Last thing to mention inside the great room, we have our additional bar. Like I said before, we typically don't use it for weddings, so usually these doors stay closed, and that becomes more of a multi-purpose area. Typically, our couples will choose to display their cake setup in this area, on the big wooden barrels and slab. Photo booth, memory table, or party table items, things like that are also great options. Next, we will move to the courtyard. What's nice is that this is the east side of the building, so throughout the day, this area is shaded, keeping it cooler and making it a great place to spend the evening under the string lights. Guests with kids or who would rather be outside will definitely end up out here. Our only rule is that children must be supervised so they do not become destructive or hurt themselves. Our suggestion is to set up a couple extra dinner tables out here on the patio. That way the parents of those kids who want to watch them, but also want to sit, eat, and drink, are able to do both. This area also becomes a haven for those who would rather not be inside with the loud music, usually older guests, to sit down and have conversations with family in a quieter environment. As you walk this way towards the cottages, you'll see our fire pit. It uses a propane system, so there's no smoke and no smell. It's got an electric ignition with a 2-hour timer, so you can use it whenever you want throughout the night. Also, it's the designated smoking area if any of your guests need to smoke. It's a lovely spot for winding down at the end of the night with all of your loved ones. Here we see the groom's cottage. After touring so many venues on our wedding planning journey, my husband noticed that the size difference and the quality of the groom's areas that we saw were severely lacking. That's why we created this to be the perfect spot for you guys to hang out. Overall, we would love to keep the groomsmen on site all day, which is why we wanted to give them a lot to do. We've got a big table for food, drinks, and card games, the TV in the corner so they can bring their own gaming system and connect to it there, the mini fridge, the classic arcade machine with over 10,000 classic arcade games, the big screen with DirecTV, leather couches, and of course Bluetooth speakers in the ceiling. There's also a full bathroom with a shower. Our pond is fully stocked, so the guys can spend all day fishing if they want and then come in and shower up. There's a walk-in closet and 4 beds. Now, when we say we have 34 sleeping spots on site, that's going to be 4 here, 2 in the bride's cottage, and 28 in our barn dominium. Honestly, that 34 is a conservative number. It provides 1 person per bunk or 2 per king bed. If you'd like to put people on couches or air mattresses, that's totally fine. We're not counting heads here. Next up, we have the bride's cottage. First, we know that every single mom, aunt, and grandma wants to hang out here throughout the day, so we included lots of seating in this area. There's also a 3-way platform mirror in the corner, so you can get those beautiful pictures while getting your dress on. There are 4 working salon chairs so that the hair and makeup artist can perform services quickly and efficiently. Here's your big table, usually covered in lots of good snacks, tacos, and mimosas. You also have Bluetooth speakers in the ceiling so you can listen to your music while you get ready. There's a mini fridge, bathroom with shower, coffee area, and the queen bed here because this room is designed to function as a honeymoon suite. If you'd like to stay on site the night of your wedding, you will need to assign someone to get your bridesmaid stuff out of here, but you and your husband will have this all on your own. Also, I wanted to mention the clipboard on the wall next to the bathroom. There's 1 in each cottage. That's where the coordination team will put a 1-page version of the timeline. That's going to include everything that's important to your bridesmaids and groomsmen. That way, everyone's on the same page throughout the day, and there are no unanswered questions the day of. Let's head out to the barndominium. A little history on this building. This was actually the very first building we put on the property. We found the property 6 years ago, and every square inch of 30 acres was dense with trees and brush. My husband and in-laws and I would come out here to clear it by hand in order to save as many large trees as possible in the process. And it was apparent we really needed a place to live on site. We knew we would eventually want lodging out here, so we decided to build this big metal building with a few rooms for ourselves with the intention of completing it later on down the line. Once the venue was complete, we finished it out, and now that it's done, it's 4,500 square feet, 7 bedrooms, 5.5 baths, and sleeps 28 people. We will start in the living room. In here, you will see lots of seating on the leather couches, direct TV, surround sound, and the rather large TV I made my husband leave here. This area is a great place for the family to hang out before and after the wedding. In the kitchen, we have stocked all of the cups, plates, bowls, forks, spoons, knives, pots and pans, and coffee you could ever need. The large island works well for snacks and breakfasts the mornings that you are here, and brings families together with all the extra seating it provides. All of the 7 bedrooms that we have in the barndominium are all decorated in a modern farmhouse vibe. Every room is connected to a bathroom and shower, and is furnished with king-size beds, as well as a few sets of bunk beds mixed throughout. Downstairs, we have a true master bedroom. It's the one room we built with extra wide doors and a level shower, so if anybody has mobility issues, this would be the perfect room for them to use. We have a couple of sets of rooms that have a Jack and Jill setup, so it's 2 bedrooms attached by a bath. We also have a few rather large rooms upstairs with beds that can sleep up to 6 people, huge bathrooms with double vanities, and makeup stations. Every room has a ductless AC unit, which means each room gets its own control and can make it hotter or colder without bothering the rest of the house. Also, every bed has a charging station next to it with USB ports and outlets, so people can charge their phones without moving furniture around or looking for outlets. The barndominium is the perfect place to spend extra time with your family and friends. With our Friday or Saturday packages, you will always have at least 1 night in the barndominium, 2 with our 48-hour packages, and for our Sunday and weekday packages, you can always add it on the night of your event. That will be the end of our tour for today, but thank you so much for joining us. This video will accompany some of our restrictions and rules, as well as details for our deposit schedules and cancellation policies in the email. Please let me know if you have any questions. We are more than happy to answer them. And we hope to see you very, very soon in person. Have a very peachy day!